All right, hello everyone. Welcome to the June 9th meeting of CB11's Environment, Open Space and Parks Committee. My name is Jessica Elliott and I'm the chair of the committee. This meeting is called to order at 6:36 p.m. Tonight we're joined by District Manager Angel Muscane, the staff liaison to our committee. In order to conduct an efficient meeting, let's observe a few ground rules. No one may speak until granted the floor. CB11 members, if you have a question about board business or wish to make a motion, please raise your hand through Zoom. If you click the participants icon, the participants panel should appear and you should find the raised hand function there. If you still have technical difficulty, you may click the chat icon and relay your difficulty to the staff. The chat function should not be used for CB11 business or questions about agenda topics. All such remarks should be made on the record by raising your hand through Zoom. Chat should only be used to alert us to any technical difficulties you are having or to state in writing information like an email address that was already stated aloud on the record during the meeting. When a member is given the floor to speak, I will identify you and you can unmute yourself so that you can speak. Please keep your questions and comments succinct and germane to the discussion. Members of the public, if you have a question or comment about the subjects on the agenda, please raise your hand through Zoom and wait to be recognized. We will now take attendance by roll call. Board members, you can unmute yourselves and answer present when your name is called.
Diane Collier.
Present.
Jessica Elliott.
Present.
David Giordano.
Present.
Alonzo Johnson.
Present.
Connie Lee.
Present.
Malik McCullough.
Present.
Debbie is excused. Natasha Rodriguez. Russell is excused. Michelle Wilcher Clement.
Present.
Jordan Wright.
Present.
You have quorum.
Thank you, Angel. The agenda for tonight's meeting was distributed ahead of time by the board office and was posted online. If there is no objection, we will adopt the agenda as stated. Committee members, if you object to adopting the agenda, you may raise your hand through Zoom. Seeing no objections, the agenda for tonight's meeting is adopted. The minutes from our last meeting were distributed to committee members ahead of time by the board office. If there is no objection, we'll adopt the minutes from that meeting. Committee members, if you object to adopting the minutes, you may raise your hand through Zoom. Seeing no objections, the minutes from the last meeting are adopted. They will soon be available on the CB11 website. Minutes of tonight's meeting are being taken by myself. We are beginning with announcements. Are there any announcements from the board? Please raise your hand. Any announcements from the panelists or public? Okay. Next is our informational updates. We'll go through city agencies, then park advocacy groups, and then other community-based organizations. Please raise your hand if you are a city agency and you would like to give an informational update. Go ahead, Marissa. And just to clarify, this is just for informational updates, and then we'll have your section later on in the agenda for DSM. Okay, great.
Oh, sorry. My apologies. I didn't know how it was being done. My apologies.
No problem. Is anyone from Department of Parks and Recreation on the call today?
I'm here, Jessica. I hope you can hear me. I'm outside. It's very windy.
Great. I can hear you. Thanks so much for being here, Jana.
Yes.
Do you have any updates?
Yes, I'll share a few. And I know Steve, I think, and my colleague, Mike McLean are going to be on the call. I can only be on until 7:30. A couple quick updates. Hi, everybody. Juneteenth and June, July, and August, I want to share with you guys that I've been working on a way with our permits office to give a printout, an Excel basically, of the month at a glance. So Jessica, I'll be sharing that with you tomorrow, as a matter of fact, for June. So if the community board wants to share that, any way you want, that'll basically give a snapshot of the June events at Marcus Garvey Park. And I'll do that for July and August as well. And that will include our Juneteenth Festival, which kicks off June 17th with a screening of Summer of Soul. And then June 18th with Cross That River, which is about a great music theater production about the Black American cowboy. And then on Thursday and Friday also at Marcus Garvey, we'll have NYPL Harlem and Studio Museum doing family activities, story times, giveaways, and tours and talks all about the sculpture on the East Lawn. The other update I guess I'll give, Harlem Port headquarters, my colleagues Steve and Mike will talk about that. We've been doing some great work there to move that forward for free horticultural programming in the park. And we had a great presentation today that I'm sure Steve will give more details on, just in terms of the repaving of the northwest and southwest ends of the park that are really going to make a huge impact for Marcus Garvey, as well as ADA entrances. So those are the main updates. I guess the other one that I shared last month is that our comfort station is open, and our PEP hours will change soon to 7 o'clock.
Great.
Oh,
Thank you
and
so much.
finally, sorry, Jessica, finally, one last thing. Just on a beauty note, our shops teams have been repainting the playgrounds on the 124th side, and they look really, really great. So we're grateful for their work. And we're also working to repair the damage at the front end of Marcus Garvey Park done by a drunk driver.
Great. Thank you so much, Jana. Are there any
Thank you.
questions from the board? Go ahead, Connie. And then Michelle.
Jana, just a quick question. I noticed there was some construction happening at the watchtower. Do you know anything about that?
Hi, Connie. No, I don't actually. I know that, you know, we regularly go up there to test the locks and to make some upgrades with the metals. Steve, are you on? I don't think Steve's on yet. I'll check into that. Thank you, Connie.
Yeah, I saw some equipment with Nicholson and Galloway's logo on it inside.
Oh, that's good. Okay,
Yes,
yeah,
so
that's
somebody's
good.
there doing something.
Okay, good to know. Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you, Connie. Michelle, and then Malik.
Hi, Connie. Thank you for your update. I wanted to find out more about the Juneteenth events. Are they
Sure.
Are they going to be something that you have to register for, or is it like some sort of ticket involved, or how are you going to control
Sure.
the amount of people?
We are back to no COVID restrictions, so it is first come, first serve. We're pretty confident that we'll be okay. Summer Stage, our City Parks Foundation partner, will be managing the seating and the folks coming in. But we do have, you know, a 1,600 seat amphitheater, so we feel pretty comfortable we'll be okay. And then the other variant too is that Summer Soul's been out a while, and
I'm sorry, I didn't get what you just said.
sorry, I know it's so windy. It's also a little variant for us in terms of expecting a good crowd, but not too much overflow, is that the movie has been out for some time now, and it's showing at many places around the city.
Okay, I was really wondering about the Summer Soul a lot. Okay, the other thing that I wanted to follow up on was.
Sorry, so I was going to say, so there's no registration. There's no registration required.
Yes. Thank you. And also, I wanted to follow up with you said that things were going to be open until 7 o'clock now instead of sunset.
The Parks Enforcement Patrol, they close at 6 right now, but once we move into summer pool season, they stay open until 7. And this pool's open June 28th. So later this month, our Parks Enforcement Patrol substation at Marcus Garvey Park will be open until 7 o'clock.
And will that be increasing in an hour as the lights get a little bit longer, the days are longer during the summer?
Yeah, that's right. Yes, and also because the pool stays open till 7.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Michelle. And Jenna, I just missed, are there tickets for the Juneteenth events?
No tickets needed.
Okay, great. Thank you. Malik, and then Diane.
I'll defer.
Okay, Diane and then Malik.
Thank you. So the connection was not very clear. My question is, will we get a paper copy of all of these events? I think you mentioned it. And when are we going to get them? Because I've had a lot of people approach me about Juneteenth activities in Harlem.
Yeah, so that's what I mentioned, that at the top, I said that I have worked with permits to come up with a month at a glance that I'll be sharing with the community board via email, and that can be shared however the community board wants.
Right, given the fact that Juneteenth is really a week away, do you have a time when you're gonna send that?
It's gonna go out tomorrow. I have no staff in 4 parks, so unfortunately, it's always a challenge for me to get to the marketing stuff.
Okay, yeah.
But it'll be sent by the end of the day tomorrow.
Okay.
So, but just so you know, City Parks Foundation, their website is where you can find the information about Summer of Soul, which is June 17th. So that's cityparksfoundation.org. So if you do want to go there.
Okay.
That's the June 17th event. I have no, and then hopefully by tomorrow, the website for NYC Parks will have the June 18th event on it. But the list that I'm going to get over to Jessica can be shared with all of you. And that's the permitted events that different people across the city have permitted at Marcus Garvey.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Janet, did you say the website was cityparks.org?
Cityparksfoundation.org.
Thank you.
And that's the summer stage schedule.
Okay. Malik?
Yes, good evening.
Hi.
My question is more so, I don't know, I don't think you can answer this right now, but I would like to know during certain periods like July 4th, there aren't any permits that are given out
Right.
for parks, special
Yep.
events.
That's right.
So my question is how can you block off that date for people requesting for permits that's not gonna get it? So the city is getting money on that date. I don't know if there's any other dates, but I know that date particularly, the city is getting money from people requesting a permit, but you can't get the permits, but the date is not blocked off.
Well,
So how can that date be blocked off?
yeah, so 2 things. No one can permit, as you said, on a federal holiday. So like July 4th. So it's first come, first serve. People can still have their events and they don't have to have a permit. 2, if they've submitted a permit for July 4th, I can double check with our permits office, but the money is returned to them unless they want to find a different date, and then the money is applied to that date.
Okay. I mean, I had an issue with that like 2 years ago, but I just didn't know if it was like resolved or anything, and I keep bringing up that that issue, which is fine. I just want to make sure in the future or anybody else that their money is refunded.
Yeah.
If
Malik,
they're applying on that date.
are you saying that yours was not refunded and it wasn't applied to a different date?
Correct.
All
but
right,
that was a long time ago. I'm not, pressed about I'm not
$25.
It's not that it's $25 is a lot of money for me.
It is.
But it was, a long time ago, and I just want to make sure moving forward that it's being resolved, or
Yeah.
other people may not have to go through that.
Well, if you want, feel free. I'll put my email in the chat and we can look into your case, because I've been with Parks a year and a half, so I don't know if the policy changed at some point after your experience, but we could definitely look into it. But as of now, any federal holiday is not permitted. And if someone's put in for that, their money's returned to them or applied to a new date.
Okay.
Great. Thank you so much, Malik. And thank you, Jana.
Thank you.
Are there, I don't see any questions from the public, but if you have a question in the public, please raise your hand before we move on. All right. Seeing none, we'll move on to parks advocacy groups. Is anyone here from a parks advocacy group? Please raise your hand. I see you, David.
Should I go?
Yes.
All right, great. Good to see you, Jessica. So I'll be real quick. I know this is the end of the June meeting, so it's got all the summer updates. So just real quick, fields 20 and 21 on Randall's Island, the field lights are now active. So we have later hours on those 2 ball fields, which is really exciting. It took a little longer to get it up, but it finally is. We have 2 big meets at Icon Stadium coming up. One is this Sunday, the USATF NYC Grand Prix. If you can't make it out, you can actually watch it on NBC from 4 to 6 p.m. It's going to have Olympic athletes there. It should be a really cool event. And then later this month, end of June, I think it's June 29th, July 3rd, we have the USATF Youth Nationals at Icon Stadium. So we're going to have youth athletes from all over the country come in over to Randall's Island. So that's another really great event. Just some of the public events we have coming up for Juneteenth on June 18th. A long-time partner with us, Boogie Down Books. We're doing 2 youth-focused book readings. There's one is at I believe 11 o'clock and one is at 1 p.m. One at 1 p.m. is this book, Because of You, John Lewis. And you come out, we'll do a reading. The illustrator of the book will be there. It's all taking place at the Urban Farm on June 18th. There is a registration through Boogie Down Books that you can find through the Randall's Island website. If anyone needs that, I'm happy to. I'll drop the link to our event page in there so you can see all these updates. This summer, we're going to have movies in the park coming back. July 10th, Encanto, July 17th, Dune, August 12th, Eternals, and August 21st, Zootopia. So they're all free. We'll have snacks. We'll have some art projects for kids on those dates. Just a couple more. July 16th, we're hosting what's called the Big Truck Day from 12 to 3 o'clock. It's going to be on the paved area behind the stadium. We've partnered with some of our agencies out at the island to come out, bring some of their big vehicles out that they use to, we have DEP, we have the Triborough Bridge, parks. So kids come out, see it. We did something similar in the past. It's really, kids really like to see them. We'll have some agency representatives talking about different vehicles. So that's July 16th from 12 to 3. Additionally, we'll have like some games and also some snacks and things like that. And then July 30th, we're going to have our free waterfront festival, which I think this is the 3rd time we've done it. That's up by the ferry dock on the north end of the park, kind of right past the stadium. And it's a really great event, totally free. We'll have lots of games, educational programming, things like that. But that's July 30th. And then we have tons of volunteering opportunities. Our summer camp is coming back in July. Our free summer camp, so that is also returning. We work with local community-based organizations to bring kids out there, and yeah, those are the main updates. Again, our website has, and I'm going to put the link in there. Our social media, we do a lot of updates on it, but I did want to get kind of just some of the highlights of this summer because I won't see you till September. Anyone have any questions for other things for Randall's Island? And also, we're excited to have Tyler going to be doing the Sunken Garner Connector presentation soon, which we spoke about in the past for Randall's Island for connecting the waterfront to kind of parts of the park. So that's a big exciting project that we have coming up.
Great. Thank you so much, David. Are there any questions from the board? Sorry, I just got an email from someone. I'm just trying to forward it to you, Angel, so you can help them. Sorry. Are there any questions from the board or from the public? Please raise your hand. And David, if you could just post the events web link to the chat so I can put it in the meeting minutes. That would be
absolutely. Yeah, I did kind of just like dump all that.
I know, I couldn't catch it all.
I'll do that right now.
Thank you so much. Looking forward to seeing you out there this summer.
Yep, definitely.
All right. Are there any other parks I can't say advocacy today, groups? Please raise your hand. Any community-based organizations that would like to give an informational update? Please raise your hand. Go ahead, Mary. Mary now. You're on mute. Mary Nell, you're on mute.
Okay.
There you are. I see you.
Yeah. Still. Okay. East River Crew has, of course, been off the water for way too long, and really looking forward to hearing about the EDC information that they have to share. I did want to say that we have had our boats out onto the walkway at near 96th Street, cleaning them out and stuff. We had them inspected by the Coast Guard and passed the inspection. So it would be wonderful to be able to be on the water. And we've been doing some small things with the folks on the Hudson, but that's sort of impromptu. It's on a certain Wednesdays. And I'm not sure where we would have that posted. Try to put it up on Facebook. And that's it. Just wanting closure with all this Esplanades.
Yes. I'm sorry, I missed, there was a part about you didn't know where to post something. Could you just repeat that item?
Oh, we are having some opportunities on the Hudson for people to come over there and row out of Pier 40. And you could go at, you can go there to Village Community Boathouse.org to find out. They have some Sunday programs. But there's no place like the Eastern Harlem River rowing. We want to get back there.
So true.
And that's all. Keep the faith.
Great. Well, Mary Nell, I think we haven't heard much, but it does look like EDC is moving forward. I'll make sure to follow up with them, and if you want to reach out to them directly, or just shoot me an email and I can help out.
Okay, I will. Thank you.
Are there any questions from the board or from the public for East River Crew? All right. Seeing none, thank you, Mary Nell, for being here. And seeing no other hands, we'll move on to our presentations and discussions. Great. So our first presentation is from New York City Parks on the plan for the Randall's Island Sunken Garden Connector Pathway Project.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Hi. Trish just stepped away from her desk, but I can get started. My name is Tyler Parlato. I'm a landscape architect with the Parks Department. I'll be presenting the Randall's Island Sunken Garden Connector Pathway. So our total budget for this project is $1.444 million. We have 4 separate funding sources, one from the Borough President, one from City Council District 8, one from the mayor, and then we also have a federal grant provided by the Federal Highway Administration. The project size is just under an acre.
Tyler, just a quick question. Do you have a presentation that you are going to be sharing, or just verbal update?
Sorry, I'm trying to share the screen. My apologies.
No problem. Thank you so much. It's just helpful for me.
Yes, I shared my video and then, I forgot the screen. Okay, can you see, let's see here, about now.
Yes, we see it now. Thank you so much.
Great. So that's all the information I just said. about the budget and the project size. So I'll walk you through the site and our proposal. The goals of this project are to improve safety and wayfinding, stormwater capture through environmental measures, and reinforce the vocabulary of the site furnishings on Randall's Island. So our project is on the island at the southwestern corner. It's near Ward's Island Bridge, and we're bordering the Harlem River to the west. We're partially in a flood zone. So the surrounding land use is mostly open space and outdoor recreation. There's a lot of ball fields in the area and bike paths, which we'll be connecting to. Just to give you some more neighborhood context, we're about a 5-minute walk from the Ward's Island Bridge. And then, some of the other ball fields are also a 5 or 10-minute walk. So about a half-mile walk radius. I'll just show you the property map. So there's a lot of different agencies on Randall's Island. Our project limit line is this red dashed line, and we are within leased land. It's owned by Parklands, but it's currently being leased by New York State Office of Mental Health. And we also have an FDNY vehicle training course, which is in the blue dash line. So there's a couple agencies that we've been coordinating with to see this project through. Here's some site context photos of the different bicycle lanes and pathways around the island. I want to direct you to numbers 5 and 8 on the left-hand side. That's the Harlem River pathway, which we'll be connecting to directly, and it has the separate lanes for pedestrian and bicycles. So these two photos show one of the more important nodes for our connector. They are currently, there's no infrastructure for bikes here. And what we're proposing is a shared bike lane on the left side. So that would be in photo number 1. And then for photo number 2 would be proposing a conventional bike lane. So one of the protected green striping. And we're also working with DOT to get their input on what they can do or what they recommend for the on-street portion of our connector. Here's an existing condition slide. I'm walking you from the pink arrow on the left. That's where we'll meet up with the Harlem River pathway. And as you make your way to the right side of the screen, there's currently 2 locked chain link fence gates, one operated by the Office of Mental Health and one operated by FDNY. So this is the area that's currently closed off to the public, but we'll be opening up with our project. To the north, the top portion of the screen, there's the Office of Mental Health campus. They have a few buildings there, the Manhattan Psychiatric Center, and there's also a security fence with a sliding gate that will have to be moved. So in our site analysis, we kind of show what I just stated. The orange area is currently prohibited to any public access. So that kind of forces the bicycle and pedestrian circulation to go up the Harlem River pathway and all the way around the OMH campus. So these 2 pink X's show how we are limited in this access currently, and we just want to open up this site. So we went out to the site with our landscape construction unit, and they inventoried the existing trees. We're going to be protecting all the existing trees on site, with the exception of 4 that are slated for removal due to poor condition. And these trees will be replaced in our schematic. So here are some existing site photos. The one on the left shows the double gate fence operated by the FDNY. And then on the right-hand side, there's the OMH security turnstile. That's used for employees and clients to gain access to the campus. This panoramic view shows their security fence with the sliding gate. The photo on the left shows a view within the campus, looking back east towards that turnstile I mentioned. And then the second photo shows the Sunken Meadow Loop roadway, looking back towards the FDNY double gate. So here are two more photos from the Harlem River Pathway. The first one is looking east towards our project area. And then the second one is looking at the current condition of the Harlem River Pathway with the Ward's Island Bridge in the background. So here's our schematic design that we're proposing. It's a 15-foot wide asphalt path with separate lanes for pedestrian and bicycle traffic. What we're proposing is the two modes of traffic divert at this point. So right where the roadway meets our pathway, we're allowing bicycle traffic to continue on the road with the shared bike lane striping. And then the pedestrian path would connect to a new concrete sidewalk, which would meet up with an existing sidewalk. We're also proposing some new light fixtures. The yellow dots indicate 8 new light fixtures, park security lighting, and then some flowering trees shown in the pink. And then with regards to the fencing that we're relocating, we'll be moving the OMH fence about 15 feet to the north. And then the FDNY double gate would be relocated as well, so we can create that connection from the Harlem River Pathway to the road and to the other amenities on Randall's Island. And then I guess another note is that we'll be reconstructing a portion of the Office of Mental Health parking lot. So we'll have to change a curb alignment within their parking lot to allow traffic to still flow. And then I guess one more thing is we'll be adding a removable bollard to restrict vehicular access on the bike path, so that only authorized personnel can drive their vehicles, from the road to the pathway and vice versa. Here are the site furnishings that we're proposing. A beep pole with World's Fair luminaire, which is typical of the Harlem River Pathway, reusing some existing boulders on site, and then the DOT line striping we'll be adding. So the existing fence diagram just shows those two locked off gates, or locked double gates that we'll be relocating. So here's our proposed fence diagram. Keeping the access for OMH and FDNY off to the side. And then we'd be proposing changing a steel guardrail to a wood guardrail, just so that there's a little bit of protection for the pedestrians that are walking near that roadway. As I mentioned, the FDNY uses this area for their emergency vehicular training. So they'll just be driving some of their bigger machines or fire engines through this gate. Here's a quick look at the plant palette that we're proposing. Some plants for screening, other small shrubs for some erosion control measures, and an all native plant palette. And then here's our schematic one more time. Does anyone have any questions?
Thank you, Tyler.
Yep,
If there are
thank you.
any questions from the board, please raise your hand. And while we wait, you mentioned that there were some ground cover plants for to prevent, sorry, I forgot the word. For resilience.
Erosion control.
Erosion control, thank you.
Mhm, yeah.
Are there any other aspects of the project that are responding to the resiliency and flooding concerns on the site? Did I freeze? Can you all hear me?
Can hear him.
Yeah, I think. Sorry, I
Either
think you froze on
I
our
lost
end,
connection or
possibly.
you lost connection. Yeah, I was just asking about any other aspects of the project that relate to flooding or resiliency.
Yeah, so we're going to be doing soil testing there in the near future, and then we'll be able to determine if we can do any other green infrastructure. If the current soil conditions allow for permeability, we can propose either rain gardens or dry wells, but that's dependent on the soil conditions. As of now, is mostly just using planting to kind of keep the stormwater on site and maybe direct it towards a planting bed.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It would be great if when you get further along in the project, if you could just send us more information about those types of interventions that you're integrating, just so we can think about them more broadly across the district.
Okay, yeah, will do. Thank you.
Are there any questions from the public? Please raise your hand. Oh, I see Michelle. Go ahead, Michelle.
Hi. I got a little confused on some of the aspects of exactly where you are. I understand that it's right close to the FDNY and the area where the psychiatric space is.
Yes.
So is it that you're reclaiming some of that space that is the pathway for this project? So you're moving the fence back 15 feet. Is that, am I getting, I'm trying to get a picture of it in my head.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a confusing site with, all the kind of different land ownership groups, but yeah, we're kind of reclaiming that area which OMH is using. And then they have a sub-agreement with FDNY, to use that roadway for a training course. FDNY has kind of bounced around. We're working with them to basically
Tyler, it might help if you turn your video
reclaim
off.
that
We're
roadway
losing
for
connection.
us, and then those double gates for the pedestrians. Oh.
I'm sorry, Tyler, can you repeat what you said about 30 seconds back? You cut off for a moment there.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you.
Sorry, can you hear me a little bit clearer now?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, so essentially you're correct. We're moving the OMH fence to reclaim that roadway. FDNY is using the roadway currently. They have a sub-agreement with OMH who's leasing the land from Parks. So we're going to be moving their fences essentially to make our connector pathway. Maybe, let me see if maybe this is kind of the best visual for this. So, there's the locked gates, which we're removing, and then coming straight from the pink arrow, all the way right is where we'll be allowing public access in our proposal. Is that clear?
It's clearer.
Okay.
Hi, Michelle. Michelle, this is Dave. Just
Yeah.
Maybe it
Dave's
helps.
familiar.
Maybe I can speak a little clearer to it. So basically this is the Harlem River Pathway, right north of the 130th Footbridge. The really exciting thing about this for the park is that currently to get to that eastern side, say where the urban farm is, all those fields down there, you kind of have to do a loop all the way around either OMH or all the way down and around the park. What this will enable us is this area that's basically just gated off for both OMH and FDNY to use now opens up and allows people direct access basically east to west through Ward's Island, which we haven't had before. So the hope, you know, it really is going to incredibly help circulation around the park. It'll give people an easier way to get around and get, you know, when you get over, a lot of times people be like, oh, my, you know, son's playing, or daughter's playing on field 80, which is all the way on the other side. They got to walk all the way around. They'd have a quicker cut through. So we're really, the real exciting thing about this project is enabling Ward's Island to, the park areas to function more wholly. And there won't be as many like wraparounds that you have to do to get where you want to go, if that helps.
Thanks, David.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right, are there any other questions from the board? Michelle, if you could lower your hand, please.
I just want to know when the completion date would be.
So we're still a couple years off due to the federal grant funding. There's a number of New York State Department of Transportation reviews and federal reviews that we still have to go through. I think the design should be completed sometime next summer once the state and federal agencies complete their reviews. And then from there, probably another year until we actually break ground.
Great.
Yep.
All right. If there are no further questions, thank you, Tyler, and Parks team and Randall's Island Park Alliance team for presenting this project. And I don't believe you need a letter of support from us, just a letter or a statement of acknowledgement via email. So we will provide that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Before we move on, the next item of business is Central Park Conservancy. Just wanted to see if they're on the call yet, or if we should move on to DSNY.
Yes, Lane and I are both on.
We're
This is
great.
Bob. Yes.
Awesome. If Tyler, if you could stop sharing your screen, we'll go to the next presentation.
Okay. Hi,
Nice to
sorry.
see you, Lane. Nice
Good
to meet you,
to
Bob.
see you too. And we just came from Community Board 8, so and I stupidly closed the presentation after leaving. So it'll just take me a second. I apologize.
No problem.
Was not thinking. Okay.
And you are asking for a letter of support, that is correct?
Yes, thank you.
And just to clarify for our board members, I know that we normally take a position after a month of deliberation, but seeing as this is our last meeting, we will go ahead and entertain a motion of support for a letter of support or non-support, depending on how we feel tonight.
Okay, here we go. And I am going to share my screen. Okay, are you seeing that?
Yes.
Great. So hi, everybody. Again, I'm Lane from the Central Park Conservancy. I'm here with my colleague, Bob. We're here to present a project to renovate the North Meadow Center in Central Park. To orient folks, if you're not familiar, the location of the facility is kind of in the middle of the park, just north of the 97th Street Transverse Road on the south side of the North Meadow ball fields. It is a facility that is a building that houses park operations and program staff, and also includes public restrooms. And the site includes recreation courts and operational space. Just a little bit of background on it, on the building. The structure was built in 1910 as an operations facility to support the maintenance of the park. It was a storage yard, a shed and stables, and it had it historically had large manure pits on either side, a refuse incinerator, and that's just to kind of emphasize that it was initially historically built as an operations facility for the park. This is actually the earliest image we have of the building, which is an interesting image, and it actually also looks a little different than it looks today. And it happens to be a photograph when the Parks Department was giving away firewood, dead wood from the park to people as firewood. And so this is within the storage yard, that courtyard area. And you can see this, the stone facade on the side, and this area, which looks kind of different today. And then a few images that we have from 1934. You can see the storage yard, access through these two stone piers that are still there today, going into the courtyard. As you look through, there's kind of a breezeway through towards the back of the facility. Turning to our right, you see the courtyard. These are all in 1934. And turning more to the right, this is the east wing, that stone facade. This is a shed that had been added sometime after 1920. And then in the mid-30s, Robert Moses became Parks Commissioner in 1934 and announced a project to redevelop this area. It was redeveloped with an emphasis on outdoor recreation. So it's at this time that the ball fields, the North Meadow ball fields that we know now today, were added. Also handball courts, horseshoe courts, and at the same time within the building, the public restrooms were added that are there today, and also some space for recreation programs and staff, although it still was used, a large portion of it as remained to be an operational facility. Just a photograph of the west end of the building, which has always been an operational space, and in that project, in the 1930s project, some windows that were in this area were converted to a door to create separate access from the public space. And then an interior view of the courtyard in the 1930s, still being used as a storage yard and an operations facility. And this is actually the only view we have from the historic period. But as you can see, that the south elevations around the courtyard, it's at this time that brick was added, that the brick facades were added. And also at this time, the boiler rooms were added, and the building was made a heated facility for the first time, kind of converted from that earlier kind of sheds to an actual legitimate building. Photo from 1965 showing, here's the handball courts, the baseball courts. You also do kind of get a sense of the wear and tear on the park in this era. This is 1965. As those of us familiar with the history of the park know that there was kind of a real period of decline over the next 10, 15 years of the park before the organization we work for, the Central Park Conservancy, was founded and partnered with the city to kind of begin restoring and bringing back the park as a green space. So that at this time that Central Park Conservancy staff started to occupy some of the operation space and also established recreation programs in the facility. Some of our earliest programs in the late 80s, early 90s were creating a basketball program. It's kind of our longest term, most popular program, where we do basketball clinics, hand out basketballs on these 3 junior courts that are on the south side of the building. But it does also remain a vital operations facility, one of the 2 primary facilities that our operations staff work out of to maintain the 843 acres of the park landscape. So the other one being the 79th Street Maintenance Yard on the west side. And so the purpose of the project is threefold. First, to renovate the public facilities. Those are the recreation courts and the restrooms. Second, to renovate and optimize vitally needed park operation space. As the last 40 plus years, we've restored the park. We've had to grow our staff. We're kind of squeezed into every corner. This facility not having been kind of renovated in a long time, it both needs a renovation, but can really be optimized so that we can get the lockers and the support space that we need for our operations staff to be able to maintain the park. And then site work to support and screen park operations. This is, primarily, largely about our green fleet, which is a fleet of electric vehicles, primarily golf carts. So since really the 2010s, the Conservancy has been convert two things really, both working towards converting from larger vehicles, trucks, pickups, where we don't need those vehicles just to move people around the park. We've been converting to smaller vehicles, golf carts, and also converting both types of vehicles to electric powered vehicles. Since 2016, we have completely converted our utility carts, our carts from gas to all electric. And a big part of this project is site work to support this as one of the two main park facilities for that purpose. So the public recreation part of the project. This is the existing plan. We'll kind of walk through it. We have on the south side of the facility in the courtyard, those 3 junior basketball courts. We also have striped a full-size basketball court. This is kind of shown a little bit differently because it's striped, but we have in the past really used it until quite recently only for kind of special events and tournaments, because it has been for many years occupied much of the time by operational vehicles, and that use has been changing, and we've traded some space with the Parks Department, and are able to kind of clear this space and make it permanently dedicated to a full-size basketball court. On the north side, we have 12 handball courts. There's also a kind of, as of now, not really used area, asphalt area that's in poor shape. That was in the 1930s the horseshoes area, and that seems to not be something people do anymore. And we have these chess and checker tables over here. The interior of the building, just to give you a sense of the configuration and some of the work we'll be doing, is the restrooms are on the outer corners, and there's a park operation space. There's, as I said, the restrooms. There's public program space. That's the staff who run the basketball clinics, give out the basketballs, and this multi-purpose room that we use both for training for our staff and volunteers, for community events. If we have a community meeting, we'll often use this space. And the circulation isn't ideal. So one of the things in doing this renovation that we'll take the opportunity to do is look to relocate these more public spaces so that it doesn't require people kind of going through the basketball courts to get to them, and also kind of traveling further distances, and they're kind of hard for people to find, particularly people coming from the ball fields on the north end who don't know where they are. So I'll just take you around, quickly, a photo tour. We'll go from the basketball courts and around in this counterclockwise direction. So these are the 3 junior courts, looking kind of in a northeast direction. You can see there's a fence here, and then on the other side is that area that I'll go to now, the area with the court that's painted, that has up until now been also used primarily for parking. And then on the north side, these are this is looking north, the chess and checkers tables, that asphalt area, and the handball courts, and then we'll just pivot to the left, looking straight head on at the handball courts. One of the things that you may notice if you're looking closely is that those people are not playing handball, they are playing pickleball. If you do not know what pickleball is, which I did not, and I think a lot of people hadn't heard of it until a couple of years ago, but it's become very popular, and many of you, I'm sure, are familiar because it's become so popular. But it's sort of a combination between tennis, table tennis, and paddleball, and it's become enormously popular. And so pickleballers have been sort of setting up on the handball courts. And while it's generally been a pretty amenable situation, there's starting to become kind of pressures in terms of the use of the two groups, and we want to make sure that that those are balanced. So looking at the proposed plan, first of all, in terms of the basketball courts, repaving the courts, including the 3 junior courts, and repaving the full-size court, making it a dedicated court, and so mirroring the fence that's on this side to that side to kind of create separation and this access through. On the north side, the handball courts will be repainted. The handball walls will be refurbished. There's some cracks and spalls that will be repaired and refurbished. We're also proposing to, in this underutilized area here, to rebuild, repave, resurface, and create 2 new pickleball courts. Relocating the chess tables over closer towards the building, adding bike racks in several locations here, and here. It's also drinking fountains as well. And then in terms of the reconfiguration, the idea being of the internal spaces, in addition to just looking to optimize the space that we are using for operations and make them function better, also make the public spaces function better by moving them more to this central axis, so that the restrooms, rather than being in the far corners, will be centrally located. Our public program staff who run the programs, give out the equipment, will also be centrally located. Multi-purpose room over here, and this kind of moves the public facing spaces towards this central spine and axis through the building. And now for the building, this is just a blow up of what we were just looking at. And this is the existing in changing the reconfiguring the interior. There's 3 openings, 3 current windows here, and here that will be changed into doors in order to accommodate the reconfiguration inside and the necessary egress. So the primary one is this. There's the existing door on the west wing that was added in the 30s that we showed you, and mirroring that here. And then there are 2 on the north facade. So this is just showing as we reconfigure the interior space, changing those windows to doors. And then on the exterior of the building, this is those windows that become a door to match the other door on the other side. The rest of the scope is essentially in-kind restoration, masonry restoration of the facade, in-kind restoration of the roof, in-kind window replacement. And on the north side of the building, the side facing the handball courts, same thing. Restoration of the exterior, the roof, and these are the 2 windows on that side that become doors to match the existing door on that side. And that's it for the building. I'm going to stop sharing so that Bob can start sharing and pick it up from there.
Okay, just give me 1 second. Can everybody see that?
Yes, but if you could make it full screen, that would be helpful.
Yes. So right now, thank you.
Thank you.
How about that? Does that work? Good.
Great.
Okay, so hi, everybody. Thank you. I will be speaking about the site work improvements related to the proposed park operations on the building exterior. Looking at this bird's eye view of the north end of the park, just to get your bearings, this is the North Meadow Center, defined here on the lower part of the page by the 97th Street Transverse Road, surrounded by the North Meadow ball fields here. And then the context of the remainder of the north end of the park, just to give you the scale. As Lane said, beginning in the early part of the last decade, we started converting gas-powered vehicles such as the ones on the left, like a garbage packer and a pickup truck, to electric vehicles like these that are more nimble on the paths, are quieter, of course, have a much smaller footprint. And these are, there's a limited park, sorry, I lost my train of thought here, I apologize. Our intention is to, there's a limited number of these electric carts at this West 79th Street yard. At the North Meadow Center, there's a limited amount. They mainly exist at the West 79th Street yard at this point, and they're heavily supplemented by vehicles and staff on a daily basis traveling from the West 79th Street yard up to the North Meadow Center. So our intention is to redistribute a portion of these electric vehicles and the park's operations component to more effectively support the north end of the park and to help decentralize what's going on at the West 79th Street yard. One of the benefits of that is that that'll really decrease the cross-vehicular traffic coming from, throughout the park. So going to the existing site just to get your bearings. Again, this is the 97th Street Transverse Road on the bottom of the page. Ball fields on the top here. This is the building Lane was talking about. The areas on the east and west side of the building here, and this is east, this is west, are very utilitarian in nature, and they have really been so from the beginning. And there are below grade boiler rooms that exist on both sides that are accessed by these exterior stairwells in the landscape. So one here, and there's things like irrigation pumps and fire hydrants. The current park operations is primarily on the west side at this point, which includes some electric cart storage and equipment storage. So I'll walk you through images of this area, starting here at this existing parking lot with storage, going around the west side of the building, and then ending up on the east side. So this is that. This is the parking lot, with storage containers that are really our operations staff uses currently. On the west side, you can see a small fleet of electric vehicles that are contained by chain link fence. And then going around to the north side, get a sense of the equipment and the machinery that's stored there really to support the use of the North Meadow ball fields. And this access path is bleeding out onto the park path. Going around the east side of the building, we have a small utility area that's enclosed by a fence. And here you can get a sense of those exterior stairwells that go down below grade to the boiler rooms. And then jumping to the proposed site plan. So overall, our proposed site improvements, the real goal here is to define, contain, and screen these operations areas on the east and west side of the building that will create a back of house operations to coexist with the recreation use on the north and south sides of the buildings. And these utilitarian areas will be really tucked in on both sides of the building and surrounded by planting improvements. So they will include electric cart storage, and the storage containers that I showed you will be distributed throughout, so they're less visible, and planting improvements will occur on the perimeter to both help ground the building and to screen these areas. So focusing first on the west side, starting down here in the southwest corner, this parking lot will be reclaimed as vehicular charging for a few standard size vehicles. An access path will be created for the electric carts into this cart charging area along the west side of the building. That path that I showed you in the photograph will be removed, and a landscape buffer will be created between the between the operations area and the park path. So I'll show you a few images of what the proposal will be. So back to this image, looking from the north into the existing conditions. This area will be defined, really just screened with a fence and really defined and organized, and then planted with planting improvements, landscape improvements, excuse me. And then coming from the southwest, looking into that same area over these existing benches, this is the current view. This area will be defined by the fence and ultimately screened like this. These are mature, they're showing the mature plantings, of course. Okay, jumping back to the plan, I'd like to go through the east side here. So again, we're forming a cart charging area here that will be accessed via a travel way that will be formed by moving that existing fence along the recreation courts inward 10 feet to create a travel way into this space. It's about off of this north part of northern path. We'll create a area here that contains both cart storage and container storage. I'll show you a few images after this, but to briefly describe what will happen on the south end of the building. In order to create, so this part of the site is much lower. The grade, the ground is much lower than here and here. And so in order to bring that up, to get usable space and to create an access into this part of the building, we'll use a low retaining wall to create that. And I'll demonstrate with these renderings. So this is the existing conditions of that south facade. These are the existing windows that will be replaced by a door. You can see here, the grade is higher here. Our proposal is to bring that grade up to create both the cart storage area and then a circulation path that runs between here and into the new door, into the operations locker rooms and restrooms. And that connects across to the courts as well. There is a gate here separating the public from the operations team. This view is unfiltered, just to show you what the structure would look like, but ultimately it will be planted out and will look like this. And then jumping back to a view a little bit further out, again, showing you the existing condition, and then with that, the proposed work, again, screened with planting improvements. And that is our presentation, just landing here on the proposed plan if you have any questions. And let me know if you want me to continue sharing or stop sharing at this point.
Thank you. You can continue sharing. I'll entertain any questions from the board. If you could please raise your hand. And in the meantime, I just had a quick question. There was mention about the movement of vehicles from the southern facilities up to this facility. Can you just give a little bit more background on why that's necessary and what sort of changes will be across the 2 or 3 or however many facilities?
And you want to take that one?
Sure. Yeah. So so we're currently our ability to house staff here is limited by 2 things. The number of lockers and just support space for staff. And then the number of electric carts that we can have for our staff to move around. So many of the staff who, although we have two main facilities that are distributed, one at West 79th and one up here, and the staff working, the staff are not exactly evenly divided, but we have staff focused on the south end of the park and the north end of the park. Many of our staff who are working in the north end of the park have to report to the 79th Street yard, get a golf cart there because we don't have the electrical capacity or the charging stations here. So we're limited by our fleet in this location. So the redistribution is, it's twofold, but they're really related. Part of it is to be able to actually have the staff who work in the north end of the park be based in the north end of the park. And then related to that, to not have unnecessary driving across the park, both in terms of travel time, but in terms of, in terms of golf carts, riding around, and they do have to go on the paths and, all of that. So.
Thank you so much. And I just wanted to say also, these presentations were fantastic, and I really appreciated the image maps where you showed the sort of where the image is being taken from on the key plans. So very helpful. Thank you very much for that. Michelle?
Yes, I do want to thank you. The presentation was wonderful. I wanted to ask specifically about the relocation of the bathrooms and making them more central on the inside of the space as opposed to near the exterior.
Mhm.
I was curious to find out, seeing that there's not many
Go to the-
bathrooms that are within the park itself. It seems that it's taking away public restrooms as opposed to making them more easily accessible. When they're on the exterior, it seems that they can be easily reached without having to go within the
Yeah.
facility.
Bob, can you actually go to the back further to the one that shows the building in the site plan? Because I think that will, okay, yeah, here.
This
So,
too, or this?
no, yeah, this one. So I can understand why you would think that just thinking about the building, but actually it's much easier and quicker to access because you can't get to these where the restrooms are now. You can't get to, this is a fenced recreation area and operations area here. So in order to get to these restrooms now, you have to go in here and in here. So you have to come through the center. So it's actually removing the need to go this distance, and it's making them much easier to find because the public access is through this central corridor here.
Okay. And also I wanted to find out, I actually have not been in this center recently. Do you still have the wall climbing space?
No, that hasn't been there. The rock climbing wall that has been, I can't, how long has that been gone? I would say not for the last 15 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Time flies.
Time goes fast, exactly.
That was my only question. The
Thank you,
location.
Michelle. All right, are there any other questions from the board or the public? Please raise your hand. And just as a reminder, we are entertaining a motion for a letter of support. So if you have any questions that would help you make that decision, please ask them now. Otherwise, I will entertain a motion. Board members, please raise your hands if you have any questions or would like to bring about a motion. Michelle? You're on mute, Michelle.
I would like to entertain the motion of the changes that have been demonstrated within this presentation.
Thank you. Malik?
I'll just second it.
Thank you, Malik.
Committee members, when I call your name, please respond with your vote. Diane Collier,
Yes.
Jessica Elliott,
Yes.
David Giordano, Alonzo Johnson,
Yes, Angel David, I'm sorry.
thank you, David. Alonzo, Connie,
Yes.
Malik,
Yes.
Natasha,
Present.
We're voting on a
it's-
motion.
we're voting on a motion. Natasha, are you voting in favor?
Yes.
Thank you. Russell's excuse. Michelle
Yes.
and Jordan.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Lane and Bob. Nice to see you both. Thank you for
Thank
all
you.
the information and good luck with your project.
Thank you so much.
I see a hand up by Tyler Parlato. Do you have a question, Tyler?
Hi, Jessica. Sorry to interrupt. So for our presentation, we're actually submitting to the Public Design Commission next week. And to submit, we need a letter of support. Would the board be able to provide that?
I was told by Steve that a email or letter of acknowledgement that you presented would be enough. Are you sure that the letter of support is needed?
Our supervisor Desmond has said that it's needed for PDC. Are you referring to Steve Simon?
Yes.
Yeah, we told him that we would be going to PDC. So I'm not sure
This is Trish
if you
Clark.
knew
This
that.
is
Yeah.
the deputy director on the Manhattan team. And at this point, we are strategizing to pass through PDC. So the letter of support is what we typically provide in that path.
Patricia, where are you from again? Which organization?
I'm with Parks. I'm the deputy
Parks.
director on the Manhattan team, previously filling the seat of George Bloomer, who you're probably familiar with.
All right. Then I have one clarifying question, and I can, if we could go back in our agenda to this topic, I'll open up the floor for any additional questions regarding the Randall's Island Sunken Garden Connector pathway. My question as it relates to letter of support is, you mentioned that there was federal grant funding provided for this project. Can you describe that funding for me, please?
Sure. So it's a transportation alternative program. The grant was applied for by I think Ann Wilson at Randall's Island Park Alliance, and Parks agreed to provide matching funding. So that's where the $794,000 figure comes from. So it's a federal grant. And then we've been meeting with, so Parks is the sponsor, and we've been working with New York State Department of Transportation, and it's a reimbursement program. So essentially, New York State DOT approves our documents. We have a design approval document that we submit to them, and then they submit those documents to the, I guess, Federal Highway Administration to receive reimbursement for that funding. But that's all I know about the grant as of now.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
And I'll just open the floor for any board members that would like to ask any further questions about the Sunken Garden Connector Pathway project. Michelle?
Hi, I would like to make sure that we are kept abreast of the different changes with the, I just want updates, because to give a letter of support and things have not really been finalized as yet with the design, as well as you still need to get more funding. I think that's what you had said at the end of your presentation, so that without a finished design and the funds, it's difficult to give a letter of support that would be completing that would be long standing towards the end of the project. I would like to be kept abreast of anything that happens throughout the project.
Okay. Yeah, we can certainly do that. The project is fully funded, so everything that I presented tonight is included in that $1.444 million budget. So that's our final schematic design.
Great. Thank you, Tyler.
Yeah,
Thank you,
sure.
Michelle.
Yep.
Diane?
Point of clarification, how is this connecting to East Harlem?
So it connects to the Ward's Island pedestrian bridge, which terminates at 103rd Street. So it's essentially a connector for anyone in East Harlem who wants to use the facilities on Randall's Island. There's approximately 70 ball fields. There's Icon Stadium, batting cages.
No, I'm
Yeah.
fully aware of all of that. You don't have to go into all of that there.
Yeah.
I guess I'm a bit unclear as to why is the public design involved?
I think because this is a new construction, it's a specialty design. So our parks process either goes through LPC if it's in a historic district, or if it's a specialty design, in other words, not in a replacement in kind project, then we ask for PDC approval. Sometimes it's just on their consent agenda. So I think that's an less strenuous process, but it's more or less a bike path, so I can't see them really questioning what we're doing for this
But
project.
if I remember correctly, you said DOT would be consulted. Am I correct? Or did I just hear that wrong?
New York State Department of New York State, so state transportation, we have to provide them a series of forms that essentially say that we won't be adversely affecting the area. So we're doing research on whether or not there's any archaeological areas of significance within our project limit line, any endangered or threatened species. So that's essentially where state DOT asks for that background information.
And one last question. So you're asking a letter of support to what?
To approve this schematic design, which we'll be submitting to PDC next week.
So we're in support of the schematic design. I think Michelle raised a good question. It's a complete or incomplete. There will be some updates to it, correct?
I don't think there shouldn't be any major changes.
Yeah, this is Trish. There is the Deputy Director on the Manhattan team working with Tyler. This is our complete proposal for the schematic design, and the process is lengthy. So this schematic design proposed today will continue to move through the process.
Just for clarification, schematic design is the second phase of a project, followed by concept design, and is usually followed by a design development and then construction documents phase before the project is finalized in its design and moves into construction, during which construction administration will take place. So schematic design is a preliminary deliverable for projects like this. So I agree with Diane and Michelle that it is likely, I'm an architect and also go through these design processes, that schematic designs documents will change throughout the course of the design process. So I think that it would be a great addition to any motion that we make to include that Parks return to the committee for an update in 2022 before the finalization of the design, as well as following up on the resiliency design details to be implemented in the project. That was a question I had asked up for discussion. Any further comments from the board?
Yes, Jessica, what would that update include? Like, what would that mean by them just updating us if we agree on giving a letter of support? So like, I just trying to figure that point.
Right, and this is the same process that we went through with the Harlem River Greenway, future Richard Desant Park. They came at schematic design, and I think we were asked to provide a letter of support, and then they were continually coming back to us to give us updates on that, and we could provide our comment as the design was being fleshed out. So I think that's that would be the goal, is that we're supporting the project through its schematic design, but we don't necessarily support the complete design because we don't know what that complete design is. Therefore, we're asking that they come back to present. But I'm not, I think there's no real, it's where, you know how it is. Diane?
So basically, Patricia and Tyler, you are looking for a letter of support to move this past public design. Am I reading that correct?
Yes.
Okay, I'm just trying to think, after that, then what happens?
Oh,
Patricia?
yeah, so yeah, once we get past, public design, we also have a series of internal reviews. We have a 50% design review, where we go back to our landscape construction unit, as we develop, the actual implementation of this hardscape, we have to make sure, we're not adversely affecting the trees that we said we'd keep. So those things are evolving, as I said, we'd be doing soil testing here. So things might get added like the green infrastructure that I mentioned. And then, we also have engineering on board. We have electrical engineers that will provide drawings for the park security lighting that we're proposing. So yeah, there are a number of iterations that involve maybe subsurface conditions or even utilities. So we'll be working more on those construction documents once we get past the PDC portion.
Are you open to coming back and giving us updates similar to what? Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Are you open to, discussion of any changes that would impact East Harlem adversely if you, assuming that something comes up, but we don't know, it may not. Bottom line is updates.
Yeah.
Us.
Yeah, that'd be no problem.
And just as a side comment, those sorts of details that you're developing over time, we'd like to see them just because we also have resiliency issues in our neighborhood and we don't have small scale solutions that could learn from the things that you are implementing. If we also could get grant funding for some things that we desperately need in our community. So that would be really helpful in addition to the general updates.
Okay. Okay.
Diane, do you have any other questions?
Yeah, it's just a comment that, in terms of coming before us again, that they be very clear as to what they're seeking. I heard the two things, one, it wasn't, and then, well, yes, it is. So I'm just, this is for parks and anybody who's on this call, be very, specific what you're looking for from the committees when you come before us. Because right now it seems like, oh, you heard we were giving a letter of support to Central Park Conservancy. So now you're asking for yourself. I mean, it just looks strange, okay? But that's just Diane talking.
Thank you, Diane.
This is Trish. I'm sorry, we didn't want to interrupt. We were conferring and the meeting moved on. So we were just waiting for the next opening in the conversation. Sorry for that appearance.
No, I understand. I'm going to go to Michelle and then we'll move on.
I just wanted to add to Diane that when people listen to a presentation for informational purposes or if a letter of support is being asked, it's different ways that people listen. And so that it is very important to be upfront what you are requesting. I would like to also make sure that if any letter of support is made, that those friendly adjustments are added to it.
Would you like to go ahead and I can repeat what I said or you can formulate it?
Basically that a letter of support would be motioned by me only if the friendly reminders of updates, regular updates along each step of the way that Tyler had really put out, as well as to make any funding that can help East Harlem that he finds or that Patricia finds along the way that can aid us as well with resiliency. We would like that information to be given to us as well.
And before we formalize that into an actual motion, I see two more hands up. So David and then Diane, and then we'll motion.
So I just want to be clear, so I make my vote appropriately. Are we voting on a project? Are we voting on a project that is
David, I think you're breaking up unless it's me. Did anyone catch what David said?
I didn't hear anything that David said.
No, I think it's a connection he has.
David, I'm going to go to Diane and then we'll come back to you for a second try.
So,
Do you hear me? Just make sure.
Yes, I can hear you now.
yeah, we can hear you.
So I want to make sure that I'm voting on a project that is complete, but would have some tweaking, as any project has tweaking, versus voting on a project that's not complete and things could change. You know, I think, Jessica, when you frame coming back and giving updates of where you at, was so eloquently put. But as the conversation started on and they talked more, I'm now curious, are we voting on a project that's a complete presented project that could have some tweaking, as opposed to a half project that have major changes, or changes that would be already too late other than us to voice our opinion? And Angel, maybe this is a question for you. If we gave a letter of support, could we later rescind that letter of support based on A, B, and C?
So I think I can feel this one, David. This is the final schematic design that's been approved in-house. So essentially, all of our designers at New York City Parks have seen this design. It's gone through a few in-house meetings, and it's been approved by our Director of Landscape Architecture here at the Olmsted Center. So no significant changes from our end will be coming. So it is a final project with some tweaking, you know, as I said, based on, you know, our soil testing. Our electrical engineers will have some input on, you know, the light connections, those types of things. But those would be either minor or below grade changes. So this is the final schematic design that we're presenting, but we'd be open to giving updates. You know, you know, if anything drastically changes, but like I said, we've been working with Office of Mental Health and FDNY to essentially keep all the hardscape features as shown on this plan.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, David. Diane?
So, okay, I think the letter of support is to move the project with the understanding that the parks or whoever's doing this.
Parks, yeah.
Returns to a community board 11 at each point of the way, at each phase. You know, you said the schematic goes into da 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 da. You know, the provided updates and any major issues. But I don't think there's going to be a major issue.
Yeah.
My main thing is as long as it connects to East Harlem and it makes it better for our people to enjoy the park. And I see that the cyclists and protects the cyclists as they go to the park. I don't have a problem with that. I already explained why I had a problem with, so.
Right. All right, thank you all. There was a suggestion that we could also entertain a letter of no objection to schematic design, if that's feels better than a letter of support. But I agree that we should include language during that they come back to present during the design development and construction document phases to provide updates on the design and any, like you said, Diane, any issues that have arisen during the process. I see two hands up, but I know they're old hands, so I'm gonna entertain a motion. Diane?
I'll make the motion that
Okay.
we will provide a letter of no objections to the project on the condition that they will be returning to Community Board 11 with updates as well as any major changes that transpire past the schematic.
Can I offer a friendly amendment
Sure.
to add more information about resiliency details to be implemented in the project as well?
I knew you were going to add that, Jessica. So
I'm sorry, can't help myself.
No, that's okay.
Okay, thank you. Michelle?
I will second.
Thank you, Michelle.
Diane Collier,
Present. Sorry, Angel.
are you a yes?
I am a yes. You know, when you hit that mute button, you
That's all right. Jessica Elliott,
Yes.
David Giordano,
Yes.
Lonzo Johnson,
Yes.
Connie Lee,
Yes.
Malik McCullough,
Yes.
Natasha Rodriguez,
Yes.
Michelle Wilcher Clement,
Yes.
and Jordan Wright.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Angel. Thank you all. And thank you to Parks. And we look forward to hearing an update before the completion of DD and CD documents. And thank you so much for your presentation.
Thank you again.
All right, before we move on to an update on M11 Garage project, I heard that we have another representative from Parks today that, and again, just to reiterate the concerns about not knowing about whether, what you're asking from the community board. I have said this at a previous meeting. It is not helpful when you email me during the meeting to say that you can't get on the meeting, that those conversations need to be had before the meeting. Fumbling around with running this meeting, taking minutes and trying to answer your emails. And it's just unacceptable to be emailing during the middle of a meeting. We really need everyone to be prepared to come to our meetings as requested on time. And so we will go to you, Robert, for your updates.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, just 1 second. Okay.
And Robert, you're from New York City Parks, is that correct?
Yeah, I'm a regional manager for 7, 9, 10, and 11. And so let me just tell you what we've been up to. I have my notes right here. We did some major cleanup and beautification at some of our parks: Marcus Garvey, Ronald McNair, Omar Eminem Park, and Moore Playground and Harlem Art Park. What we've done is we just mobilized all our people and painted all the benches, the fences that we could paint. We removed all the debris. We renovated the garden beds. We weeded the tree pits, and we removed the graffiti on these sites, cleaned the sidewalks, cut the overgrowth back, removed the eroded soil from the park paths, and we mowed all the lawns. So this took place over the week of May 23rd. And then we've mowed all the ball fields at Thomas Jefferson Park and Marcus Garvey. And also, what would be the most important thing that we did is since April, my gardener and I have been working with New York Cares and Partnerships for Parks. So since April, we brought in $19,950. And most of that was going for horticultural plants. And this was through New York Cares, the volunteers. So we, for example, last week we worked with L'Oreal. They gave us $4,000. They brought in 110 volunteers, and they weeded the gardens. And then we selected $4,000 worth of plants at a local nursery on Long Island. And they put in those gardens. In Marcus Garvey, we got about 35 gardens. So we're not adding more gardens, but we're filling in the gardens that we have. And then we've organized another 2 groups in July for another $5,400 for Marcus Garvey. And we will continue bringing in money to the end of December. So we should get another, I would say another $6,000, $7,000.
Great. Thank you so much for your update. Are there any questions from the board? Michelle?
Thank you for your presentation. Just curious, you said you were bringing in money. Is any of that for internships for any of our youth?
No, not I don't have that kind of money for internships, but there's a high school on Amsterdam at 84th Street. And we have some community service, high school juniors and seniors that are coming every Friday, and they're working with our gardeners, about 4 of them. And they come every Friday. But as far as internships, no.
Are you reaching out to any of the high schools in East Harlem to say about these opportunities that are around?
I've called some of them that they haven't called back. I'll tell you what, I'm not going to get any more interested in bringing in interns because I'm working 12-hour days and sometimes 16-hour days and the weekends just on bringing in money. And I don't have the time or the staff to work with interns.
Thank you, Michelle. Connie?
Hi, Robert. It's Connie. I do want to tell you that Marcus Garvey Park Gardens look absolutely beautiful, and many people have said so to me, so that's much appreciated. I do want to just pass along. I've been recently contacted by several people in East Harlem about White Park, White Playground. I don't know if that's on your radar, but primarily there are a lot of issues with trash not being picked up and the park not being very clean. I'm passing it along to you just because I know you kind of got a little bit of influence in getting people over there.
Yeah, just if any of these complaints come in, that usually would go to the PS2, but just go ahead and email me and I'll take care of it.
Thank you, Robert. Appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Connie. If there are no more questions, we'll move along to our update on the M11 garage project from Marissa at the Department of Sanitation.
Hey, good evening, everybody. My name is Marissa Yanni. I'm the Manhattan Community Affairs Liaison at the Department of Sanitation. My colleague Stephanie from our real estate division was not able to be on the call today, so I just have an update that she gave me. I do just want to preface, I may not be able to answer everyone's questions because she would know every little detail about the construction. But any questions you do have, I'm going to take note of it and I'll bring it back to her tomorrow and hopefully get you some answers. And Jessica, of course, you have my email and Stephanie's email. So please, if there's anything outstanding that I don't get to answer today, it's a pretty short update. Please, hound me and we'll make sure we'll get you that answer, okay?
Sounds good, thank you.
Awesome, awesome, always happy to help. So right now we're optimistic that we're gonna get our occupancy, temporary certificate of occupancy by this fall coming up. There may still be some construction happening at the new site up on 123rd that may be happening beyond that fall date, but we could still possibly move in. We're going to keep the community board as updated as possible. Currently, we have some painting happening. We're installing some lobby ceilings, some lighting fixtures, and millwork. I do just want to highlight, if we cannot move in by the time night plow starts, when our snow season starts, we're going to have to push it back until next April. So this year, when did it start? Snow season started on Halloween. So about that time is when we would ideally need to be all moved in order for us to deliver all services that we can during any snow weather in the community. So if we're not in by then and we're going to keep you all updated, then we're going to have to push it back until next April, just so we're not doing the move and then all of a sudden we get hit with a snowstorm or a squall or some nonsense like that. And we just want to be sure that we can provide all services and be responsive in a timely manner for East Harlem. So I apologize, this is not a super big update, but happy to take any questions and write down as many questions as possible.
Okay, we're gonna have a lot of questions. I have a list here. And I understand that you may not be able to answer all of them, but our intention tonight is to entertain a resolution regarding sanitation garages. Just one quick point to, we have parks attend our meetings every month, which has been really helpful to get updates on things. Is there any ability for a representative of DSNY to begin attending our meetings on a monthly basis?
I mean, as the Manhattan liaison, I could definitely, if you ask me, and I am available, I can make myself available for your meetings, or if someone else has to come in, as long as you just give me heads up beforehand, what exactly, if you need me to prepare anything. But yeah, I mean, whatever, if you ask me, I'll do it.
Okay, I'm hereby asking if every month, it would be great, even if there are no updates, just for us to have the opportunity to ask questions. There's an ongoing sanitation projects and concerns in the neighborhood, especially as it relates to East Harlem Points of Agreement from 2017 that we want to stay on top of. So at the very least, just your presence here to answer any questions as they come up over time would be very helpful, if that would be possible. And of course, you can substitute in any other members of your team as needed.
Okay.
Great. Please, committee members, feel free to go ahead and raise your hands, but I'm going to go down a quick list of questions. First of all, what is the process for the transition of the temporary facility to the agreed upon 2017 points of agreement permanent facility with the requirements as laid out in that agreement?
Maybe I don't understand. So we're moving from 99th Street to the Potemkin site on 123rd.
As a temporary facility, correct?
I've been told that is the permanent facility.
Oh, that's okay. Is this facility, this permanent facility, the consolidated facility that would house multiple garages and the lot cleaning unit?
Right.
So
yeah, I will have to see. I'll triple check who else is going in the building besides M11.
Okay.
I want to triple check on that before I give you an answer. I'll triple check who else is going to be in the new, who specifically is going to be in the 123rd Street building. And I can email that back to you, if that's okay with you.
Yep. Before I go to my next questions, I'm going to let Angel talk.
Oh, go ahead. I have a list too.
Oh, well, your list is probably better than mine because I'm coming up with it at the top of my head based on this resolution.
Is it 123rd or 127th, 28th?
Is it 123rd or 127th?
Potemkin is 127th, 128th.
My apologies. I had a bunch of different numbers in my head. 127. My apologies.
Hi, Marissa. So, thank you for being here this evening, and thank you for taking notes on questions to circle back with us on. Frankly, the Department of Sanitation has known for many years what our concerns have been with their plans for the sanitation garages in our district. And by no means am I putting this on you. I'm putting this on the agency. The agency has, in my opinion, not been operating in good faith with the community board as it relates to the location of the sanitation garages. For many years, the district has been requesting that the M11 garage be moved off of 99th Street. The site on 127th Street that was identified was opposed by this community board, and it was indeed communicated to us that it's a temporary location. And they've been asked repeatedly, to clarify the temporary thing, and have always insisted that it's temporary. The expectation of this community board for many years has been that the sanitation department, proceed with constructing a new facility, a new consolidated sanitation facility to house the M11 and M10 garage, which is also located in our district for God knows what reason. Both the M11 garage and the M10 garage, because they're currently in poor facilities, park their equipment on the street at both locations, which is beyond problematic, and has been an issue for many residents of our community, both on 99th Street and in the Park Avenue area in the 130s. We have not gotten a clear answer on if sanitation is moving forward with procuring a site to build that consolidated garage. The conversations at the community advisory group that was formed after the, as a result of the East Harlem Points of Agreement, with, related to the the consolidated garage, have gone nowhere. There have been a couple of tours, but there's, it's 5 years later, and there's no clear answer as to what sanitation department's plans are to move forward with procuring a site and building a consolidated garage to get off of 99th Street and get off of Park Avenue, 130th Street. In addition, we also house the lot cleaning unit on 123rd Street, which is parking partially for lot cleaning unit equipment, but mostly for the personal vehicles of the staff that that work for the lot cleaning unit. That location was identified for the development of affordable housing as part of the points of agreement from the 2017 East Harlem rezoning, and has been held up unnecessarily because sanitation has refused so far to remove their equipment from there, and has made no promises that they intend to move their equipment, even though the 127th Street site is supposed to house the lot cleaning unit. And then lastly, we've heard more recently that on 99th Street, after the M11 garage moves to 127th Street, it's the intention of the sanitation department to still keep equipment on 99th Street in the street. That would be 4 locations in our district, right? Again, Marissa, I know you're the messenger. I'm not pointing this at you. I'm pointing it at your agency. It is beyond ridiculous that after all this time, we do not have clear answers. And I'm hoping you could pass along these concerns, and that we can, schedule the capital construction folks at sanitation to come and speak with us and give us clear updates on all 4 of those sites. The last thing I'll say is there's no reason that there should be, that I can see, that sanitation would keep anything on 99th Street. They promised us time and again, and we asked them very pointedly whether they will be able to fit all of their equipment on the site on 127th Street. They insisted that yes. We asked them directly, if you're going to have any equipment on the street on 127th Street, they insisted that yes. Many, many times. So if we can schedule something, yesterday, and get some clear answers for this board, I think we've been more than patient. And frankly, this community has been disrespected by the sanitation department as it relates to the location of all of these facilities. Other neighborhoods have none. We have 4. That, like, it wasn't just the 2. Now it's 4 locations. That's absurd. And as much as this community board has, operated and and engaged with the sanitation department professionally, I don't think that the sanitation department has respected this board and its wishes, and has been, has operated in good faith with our board, and it's been, decades. Thank
Amen.
you. So,
Amen.
Thank you, Angel. I will withhold all the rest of my comments because and questions, I think we'll just move on. Unless Marissa, you have any further comments or thoughts?
Nope.
Okay, great. And before we move on to discussing our resolution, it was also just on the agenda that Metropolitan Hospital would be coming to this meeting to give us an update. They had emailed me today before the meeting with an update that the person representing Metropolitan at the CB meetings is leaving Metropolitan. So they are, wanted to provide an update via email. So on the plan for the lots, the Metropolitan Health and Hospital lots, once DSNY leaves the garage, their update is the lot with the garage, which is still occupied by DSNY, is the only lot which is in Health and Hospital's name. The other lots where they park their vehicles are not in our domain and are controlled by other city agencies. Our system does not currently have a plan for the lot. Once DSNY leaves, we will be happy to share information with the CB once a plan has been formulated. So as we, oh, okay. Oh, interesting. So I just seen in the chat that Metropolitan Hospital is still on to give a presentation about the project. Okay, great. Let's move to that briefly, Angel, if that's okay, and then we'll move to our resolution.
sure.
Thank you. I don't know where this email came from then. Do you have a screen to share?
I do. It won't let me until you.
Yeah, Angel, if you could unshare, thank you. Apologies that we removed you from the agenda. I'm so sorry.
Okay. No worries. All right. Does that look okay to you?
Yes, and is this presentation about the flood wall project
Yeah.
only, or about anything relating to the DSNY?
No, just about the flood wall project.
Okay, if possible, if you could keep it as brief as possible, like
will.
5 minutes, if not, a little bit more than that.
Sure, absolutely.
Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, everyone. I'm Melissa Johnson. I am the community engagement lead for the Metropolitan Hospital Flood Wall Resiliency Project, which is being managed by New York City Health and Hospitals, along with New York City EDC. The consultant team working on the project, some of us are here today, on behalf of Health and Hospitals and EDC includes Gilbane Building Company, who is the construction management consultant, as well as Stantec, who is the project's designer, and STV, who is the owner's representative. My firm, Melissa Johnson Associates, is supporting Gilbane for community outreach and engagement. The project site consists of the 2 full city blocks that are essentially the perimeter of the hospital's campus, bounded by East 99th and East 97th Streets on the north and south, and by First Avenue and Second Avenue on the east and west. The project also does include infrastructure upgrades in the area that will increase stormwater pumping capacity surrounding the hospital. The Metropolitan Hospital Floodgate Project was born out of Hurricane Sandy and the extensive damage that the hospital suffered as a result of flooding in the basement and damage to the campus's below ground infrastructure. So following that storm in 2012, the hospital did restore many of the damaged areas and worked with FEMA to develop plans to mitigate damage in the face of future storms.
If you don't mind me interrupting, I know we've had the project background. We've heard this version of this presentation, I think at least 2 or 3 times now. So if we could focus on any updates, that would be beneficial.
Sure.
Sorry about that. Thank you.
That's all right. So I will skim through the project benefits. You already seem to know that. The scope of work, as I'm sure you know, is to build a perimeter flood mitigation system around the hospital's campus. Here are some renderings of the hospital as it will appear when construction is done. So this is the view from 2nd Avenue. The view from First Avenue, the southwest corner of the hospital, First Avenue looking toward 99th Street, 97th Street, and the northwest corner of the hospital as well. So some updates to the construction schedule. Construction has begun in late May. So the construction that is happening over the next couple of months will be focused on the areas that you see near 99th Street and First Avenue in purple and green on the chart. So those are the areas that we'll be working on over the next couple of months during the spring and summer. So phase 0 and phase 1. And then after that, work will start in the upper corner in the kind of lime green color. And that's going to be phase 2. That will be about 8 months starting next spring. Following that, the other side of the hospital near 2nd Avenue will be worked on. That's phase 3 and phase 4, which will take place later in the project. The major impacts to the community and the traveling public will be sidewalk closures that will require pedestrian detours, as well as lane closures that will require some parking removal along the perimeter of the hospital, only in the areas that are actively being worked on. Community engagement is an important part of the project as well. As part of the design project, local artwork was incorporated into the design of the flood wall. The project team put out a call for art, and in the end, local artist Miguel Luciano was selected, and that's his art that appears there on the wall, and that's what will appear on the constructed wall once it's finished. Now that the project has started, there is a community liaison, Rick Fogarty from my team. He's the contact for the project. If anyone has any questions or concerns, he also will be sending out project updates when there is an impact to, say, parking or sidewalk access near the hospital. He will be sending out notifications to our stakeholder list and the community board as well. We also are going to have some informational construction fencing on the project site. So the areas under construction will be blocked off by fencing, and to help improve the aesthetics in the area, we'll be adding some mesh panels with decorative fencing on them to provide general information about the project, to provide Rick's contact information, and to show the benefits of the project to the community. And if there are any questions, we have some staff from EDC and Health and Hospitals in Gilbane on to answer any questions.
Thank you, Melissa, and apologies for cutting your presentation a little short, but
No worries.
we're happy to see this project and excited that it's moving forward. And I know Xavier attended the ribbon cutting the other week, so I'll open the floor for any questions from the board. Connie?
I just want to put one thing out there on the art project. The imagery is Hiram Maristani's and not Miguel Luciano's, and I would like to know if there's any plans to make sure that Hiram Maristani is acknowledged for that work.
I will have to get back to you on that. We had a different understanding from the design team, but I will, I can check in on that question and we can get back to the board.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, all the photos used in that artwork were taken by Hiram Maristani.
Thank you, Connie. Xavier, thank you for joining us, Chair.
No, thank you very much. And it was an honor to represent our board at the groundbreaking. And to that question, Connie, you are correct. And that was noted during the ribbon cutting and groundbreaking. So I would definitely recommend circling back to recheck your resources because multiple people, including those from EDC and other entities, were aware of Hiram's photographs in that, and we were all in concurrence. So thank you very much, and I appreciate you being here in this space. It's just it's imperative that we be very accurate in our presentations going forward, because otherwise as these meetings are recorded for posterity's sake, people could come away with a different understanding. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. All right. Are there any other questions from the board or the public? Please raise your hand. Great. Seeing none, thank you so much for being here. And again, so sorry that we removed you from the agenda. They're asking, Connie, could you please type the name of the artist into the chat so they have the correct spelling? Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much for being here, and we look forward to the project moving forward. Right. So the last item, I believe, in relation to the M11 garage project discussion was the resolution of the for sanitation garages, which I had sent the email to everyone today, the draft. I can pull that up on my screen and we can walk through it and take any adjustments to it or whatever you all would like to do. But this resolution was compiled with the knowledge from our previous resolution, I believe in May of 2021. So there's some language repeated from that that I thought would be relevant still, as well as the document that we've been working on over the course of the past few months with our sort of thoughts and comments as to where this resolution should go. So this did not come from thin air. This has come from months of discussions and collaboration with each other. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Here it is. Can you all see that? Do I need to zoom in? Okay. So I'm just going to read through this really quickly, and I'm sorry, I'm going to skip the items in yellow because those are repeated information verbatim from the previous resolution, which are still relevant to this here. So whereas Manhattan Community Board 11 previously issued a resolution regarding proposed New York Department of Sanitation budget allocations and equity across Manhattan community districts in March 2021. The three whereases from that resolution that describe the points of agreement and CAG process. Whereas the M11 garage located on 99th Street is being relocated to 127th Street as a temporary location. Whereas the DSNY intends to continue to use a surface lot on 99th Street to park vehicles and store equipment, despite the goal to remove all DSNY vehicles off of 99th Street. Whereas DSNY utilizes a vacant lot on 123rd Street to store lot cleaning equipment. Whereas the aforementioned lot on 123rd Street is owned by HPD and was identified as a site for 100% affordable housing, which is on hold indefinitely so long as the equipment is stored there. Whereas the M11 garage was intended to hold the lot cleaning equipment that is currently stored on the 123rd Street HPD lot. Whereas the existing M10 garage structure is subpar and the equipment for the M10 garage is currently parked under the Metro North Viaduct on Park Avenue. Whereas the plan to provide a consolidated garage seems to be on hold indefinitely, with every possible site being deemed unacceptable, and the temporary facility construction has begun at the former Potamkin site. Whereas the aforementioned former Potamkin site was the potential location for the consolidated garage, whereas the site is located in close proximity to the African burial ground and housing. Whereas the site is adjacent to the entrance of the future Harlem River Greenway Park. Whereas the dedicated funding and construction work for the temporary facility will result in a structure that could exist for decades at this location. Whereas the planned temporary facility does not meet the requirements agreed upon in the 2017 East Harlem Points of Agreement. Whereas DSNY is and has been funding partial renovations and full reconstructions of sanitation garages in other districts in New York, despite citing a lack of funding for the CB11 consolidated garage. Whereas the Metropolitan Transportation Authority has announced plans to replace segments of the Park Avenue Viaduct, including the span between 128th Street and 131st Street, which is currently used as parking for M10 garages, equipment, and personnel parking. Whereas the Metro North Viaduct work will cause the DSNY equipment to be relocated during construction, and there's no current plan for its relocation. Whereas a vacant city-owned lot at 126th Street and 2nd Avenue was proposed as a location for temporary housing of M10 garage equipment, while the Park Avenue viaduct between 128th Street and 131st Streets is being replaced, is currently being used as designated staff parking for the adjacent Proton Center located at 225 East 126th Street. Whereas the inequitable burden of sanitation garages and sanitation equipment at a total of 4 locations in CD11 causes increased levels of pollution, traffic, and air quality concerns, which contributes to negative health outcomes for residents, leading to long-term chronic respiratory diseases like asthma, which have a higher prevalence in CD11 compared to neighboring community districts. This final whereas is reiterated from our previous resolution regarding not funding our requests. Therefore, be it resolved that Manhattan Community Board 11 asks that DSNY respond to the community board's concerns and communicate the planned activities and timelines at all of its sites in CD11. Does anyone have any thoughts, changes, concerns regarding this resolution? I can't see hands.
There are no hands up.
Would anyone like to make a motion? Or does anyone need more time to review this?
Yeah,
Michelle?
I might need a little bit more time to like read it.
Okay. It's all in your email, so if you could give it a minute or two, just quickly, please peruse. Michelle?
I'll make a motion, David.
I was gonna need more time to read it.
Okay, can I give Diane? I'll go to you. Oh, okay.
Okay, my question is, why are we doing this? Okay.
We've been talking about doing this for many months.
Hear me out, Jessica. This was a point of agreements. This was a 2017 East Harlem rezoning points of agreement. And keep me honest here, Angel. Is not the city reviewing each point of agreement as it relates to any kind of rezoning? Aren't they double checking to see where, providing information as to where they are in the process? Isn't that on the city planning website?
So the commitment tracker is on the city council website for all the rezonings that we're passing, including the East Harlem one. It is a commitment, from that rezoning. However, in the 5 years since those commitments were made, there's been no progress on any of those projects. The community advisory group that was prepared to have conversations with the sanitation department has met with them for a couple of years now, proposed a number of locations. The DSNY has stated that all of the locations proposed are not suitable for a garage. And meanwhile, we're sitting there with no movement. And as so far as updating the community board, there have been no updates to the community board in the entire time. They've only been the conversations with the community advisory group, which frankly, they've just been stringing along.
So we are sending this off to them to say, you guys have not lived up to the agreement. What's going on?
Yes.
I think there's a bigger issue here. There's a bigger issue for every board out there for the city, that if the city does not live up to its points of agreement, what's the sense of having them? And I think this will impact a lot. And if it gets out, it would impact a lot of boards out there as it relates to future rezonings, which the new mayor is trying to do with all these new zoning texts that he's, I think that there's a bigger issue here.
I agree, Diane.
I just think.
Diane, I have a question to you. So what do you propose that we do to?
No, I'm just saying, if we want to send a letter, and who is this going to? The new commissioner?
Angel, I'm not sure. It would go to DSNY in addition to all of the elected officials and commissioners.
Correct.
I would send this to the mayor.
I think it
You
should.
have not lived up to points of agreement. The city has not lived up to points of agreement.
Yes, we can also direct it at the mayor.
I mean, they need to understand what's the sense of us going through all of these exercises. And as you just said, Angel, it's 5 years and nothing has happened. But anyway.
I completely
Okay.
agree, Diane.
If you want to reiterate what was already said, when it was voted practically unanimously, with only 3 people who abstained, to that we wanted our own consolidated garage like they have downtown. And yet here we are 5 years later, we still don't have it, and we don't have an answer, even with the change of administration. So
yeah,
I don't have
and
a problem sending it off. I just don't want it to get caught up in the, all the other files that they get, that all the others. We need, if you need to make some noise here.
Yes, I agree. And I think the point of this is to lay out what we're experiencing as well. So the, different conversations that we've been having and the different pieces and how they're moving forward in ways that were not the intention is important to telling that story in addition to like the impacts it could have on other important sites on the neighborhood. But yeah, I agree that it's just unacceptable. And I think it's a larger conversation and we can continue to make noise about it, but I don't believe there was any response to our previous resolution from March of 2021 about the equitable funding and service provision to our neighborhood from DSNY either. So perhaps we just need to, in addition to bringing DSNY to our meetings every month, that we, do more things to push them to do what they promised to be done. Xavier?
Thank you, Jessica, for presenting this draft resolution. Thank you, Diane, for your comments. I think it's really about follow through. And as much as it may engender an eye roll, it's Shawshank Redemption. You write 1 letter a week. I think it's about us following up and making those phone calls and knocking on the doors after a resolution such as this goes out and chasing them to make it a priority. I think they're so used to, and many of the agencies are so used to just getting paper upon paper, but then it's also the follow-up phone calls and chasing people down. And I think to what end that we can take on some of that load from the staff at this and help with that process and follow up. I think that will be integral to a successful engagement. And if they don't desire to engage, then we have greater grounds to raise alarms and elevate our cause. But I think that they've had more than enough time. And anyone who would say, oh, but COVID is simply gaslighting at this point, because it's been 5 years and COVID's been here for 2. So that's really the way I see it. So I'll leave it with this committee. But I think, again, it's the squeaky wheel gets the grease on this one. So let's just keep chasing, not just with this agenda item, but all of our committees. So thank you very much. And I'll leave it with the committees.
Thank you, Xavier. Diane? Is that an old ham, Diane?
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I think the last line should be a little stronger.
Okay.
Therefore, be it resolved that CB11 asks that Angel, who is the deputy mayor for that Department of Sanitation sits under? Do you know?
Not off the top of my head, I do not know. Maybe operations, I'm not sure.
Right.
But we can address it to we can look that up and just add that.
Yeah,
to the copy.
Yeah, I think we need to try to get to the mayor's level a little bit on this one. Yeah. Ask that, whoever that deputy commissioner is or the commissioner respond to our concerns and personally, I would put that the points of agreement was not had not been achieved. So, but you know, that our concerns and communicate the plan activities and timelines to rectify the situation or whatever, or to fulfill. Yeah, to fulfill the 2017 whatever commitments.
I was gonna write demands that DSNY, but I felt like that was too strong.
Good. That's good.
This is good. Just for a little history here, the sanitation garage, the DSNY was Catherine Garcia at the time. That was the commissioner. And she actually showed up to a city planning meeting about this. That's how strong they knew that we were very strong on this. That's why it became a point of an agreement. So to the chair's response, yeah, we need to follow up. We need to really, follow up each time we send something to them.
Yeah, and I mean, as you know, we were all
I know,
Angel and I were participating on the CAG, and
yeah, I know.
we
And
followed up during the district consultation
Right.
meetings, and
Right. Don't forget about whoever that deputy mayor is. I don't, off the top of my head, I don't know who that is. Or the mayor's office, maybe the mayor's office or whatever.
send it to all the higher ups.
It's got to get to a high up
Yeah.
person.
And just as a side note, one of the things Xavier, Angel, and I have been working on is a future discussion, roundtable discussion with city agencies and elected officials. And this is a prime example of the struggles of the community board, and not just the struggle, but like unacceptable conditions. And, we just need to find ways to be better, not only as community boards, but how the elected officials support community boards, how city agencies interact with community boards, and all of that. So this just is one piece of that puzzle, and is part of a larger plan as well. Now that everyone has had a few moments to read it again, does anyone have any questions or comments? Would anyone like to make a motion?
David, Diane.
David and Diane, you want me to make the motion? Is that why you're calling my name?
You so eloquently do all the time.
Lake's giving you work.
I know. Okay, I make the motion that the attached resolution be sent to the appropriate parties so that we can move the points of agreement regarding the sanitation sanitation concerns of the points. I can't. What did I say? Let me repeat this. I make a motion to support the attached, to move the, oh God. Let me think about this.
Okay, it's late.
It is late. Say, David, are you quiet here? I guess he is.
Just like support the resolution.
Yeah, I support the resolution.
Motion to support?
Yeah, the motion is to support the resolution. Oh my
Great.
God.
Do I have a second?
Oh my God.
Jordan?
Second.
Thank you, Jordan.
Okay, Diane Collier,
Yes.
Jessica Elliott,
Yes.
David Giordano, Alonzo Johnson,
Yes.
Connie Lee,
Yes.
Malik McCullough,
Yes.
Natasha,
Yes.
You got me, Angel? You got me, Angel?
I got you, Malik, and I got you, Natasha. Russ was not here. Michelle,
Yes.
Jordan,
Yes.
David Giordano, Okay, motion carries.
Thank you, Angel. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Is there any old business? Please raise your hand. Michelle?
I don't know if this is considered old business, but to continue our talks on a picnic for environmental open space as adding any others to the conversation.
Thank you, Michelle. I forgot about this old business topic, which is Malik has been working on in the background. So part of that, I think what you're mentioning is the parks tours. So I don't know, Malik, if you would like to give a quick update on that.
Yeah, so I just basically I was given some information by Angel and Jessica. The information that Angel gave was just basically all the parks within our community board. And the information I got from Jessica was the parks that we went to was it last year or the year before?
Last
I
year.
can't remember. Okay, last year. So I composed a list, and I want to say it's at least like 20 places, parks that we can possibly visit. I don't know if you have the list, Jessica. And I feel like we can, split it up. There are three places that I know for sure that it would probably have to be done once, and we possibly cannot visit any other parks. But that's just the Esplanade itself, which is, a long route as far as across the Harlem, the FDR, the Harlem River Drive. And one was Randall's Island, and
I posted in the chat, Malik.
oh, okay. One was Randall's Island, and I forgot the last one, but I guess it's in the chat. And those we would have to Ward's Island, right, and Randall's Island, which is basically the same on the same. But those we would have to do those separate, and we know that's going to take like a all day type of thing. But we don't have to when we visit these parks. It's not necessarily for us to it's just more so for us to see the park, make sure we get familiar with the park, and if we notice some things, take some notes that what we can bring to the next meeting, so that we can make sure we bring it to the attention of parks, whatever we do see. And if we don't see anything, things that we can talk great about, that we can, offer to our services to our community. I mean, just saying, like, if one park has a tennis court, we can let them know, like, this park right here has tennis courts. So the tour last year was very, very good, and a lot of people showed up, and we had a great time, just at least viewing and getting to know our community. And I think it's a great thing for us to do this year, and we can break it up, and I just would like to know when we would do that, so that everybody has like a full notice in advance and can have some time hopefully during the weekend, where we can, go on a tour or two, or however many.
Thank you, Malik. And yeah, I think the parks tours last year were great, and this would just be a way to, even spend time with each other and with members of the community. And I think we should set up a sub group to help plan. But before we continue that discussion, I'll go to Connie.
I really do think it's the responsibility of everyone who serves on this committee to know the parks and the community better. And I think they need to know, a majority of the parks, if not all of them. As far as I'm concerned, the list is incomplete. And I also believe that their time should be spent. I think the tour last year was very, very quick, and it was a quick glance. But by no means is it, we're really having opinions about what's going on in spaces that we should know them like the back of our hand. And so as far as I'm concerned, it should be more than 2 days or 2.5 days or a couple of mornings. And I think that the list should be comprehensive and include all of the parks. You have, the park formerly known as Dream Street, which is going to undergo renovations. We should really all be looking at that park since we will be voting on those design plans. That's just an example. I would say on an average Saturday, tens of thousands of East Harlem residents are in Marcus Garvey Park. So for any member of this board not to be, or this committee not to be familiar with who's in that park and how they're using it, we're not doing our job. White Park is, I brought it up tonight. I'll be doing some work in that park again because of graffiti on the artwork, so I'll be spending a lot of time there. I really would like to see the people on this committee really be familiar with the parks in this neighborhood.
Thank you, Connie. And just to clarify, I think, and Malik, you can correct me, I think this list is, it's not inclusive of every park. It's, I think you reviewed the parks that we visited last year, and this was a list in response to those parks that we visited. Is that correct, Malik?
Correct. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. This is just the parks that we did not visit from last year.
Great, thank you. Yeah, so I think the goal here, at least in my opinion, is to set up a subgroup to talk about it. And I think Michelle had previously mentioned that it was also quick, the tours last year, and I agree. So if we could, spend more days with more time in each park, that would be ideal. And including some sort of picnic activity for us to get, spend time together and with the community would be great as well. Diane?
So I've had a lot of feedback from our conference that we had down at the museum. Everyone who came up to me thought it was the best thing since sliced bread. And it would be nice if we could continue to do those type of events. I understand what Connie is talking about, but I also think that if a particular part of the park is coming before us, whether it's downtown or whether it's uptown, they should give you, Jessica and Angel, ample notice so that we can go by and see exactly what they're talking about. I mean, I can go and visit 103rd Street today and look at that park down there, but I'll completely forget about it because I don't use it as well. Unless we're going to do something gimmicky that, this is a day of CB11 walks and we're walking from, 106th Street to 107th Street. It's something that gets the people also involved. So you want to hear their feedback as well.
Yes, thank you. Okay, and I agree with your point. Yeah, so I think this just needs a little bit more discussion. We're already pretty over on our time today. So I would request any volunteers that would like to help Malik and I plan out these summer parks tours. If you could raise your hand. Connie, thank you. Michelle, thank you. Okay, there's our group. I will send an email to the 4 of us and we can get that process started and make it happen. So thank you again, everyone, for all your work. And thank you, Malik, for looking into this since it's been a while since last one. Is there any new business? Seeing no new business, I believe we can adjourn after roll call.
Diane Collier.
I had to find that mute button. I'm here.
Jessica Elliott.
Present.
David Giordano.
I'm here.
Alonzo.
You heard me?
Here.
Connie. Yeah, I heard you, Dave.
Present.
Malik.
Present.
Natasha.
Present.
Michelle. Michelle
Present.
and Jordan.
Present.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you. Thank you all so much, everyone. If there are no objections, we will adjourn the meeting. Seeing no further business, the meeting is adjourned at 9:10. Thank you all so
Objection,
much.
objection. I'm just playing.